It started like any other Dr. Phil episode. A family dispute. A woman named Rebecca who'd written to the show claiming her sister had stolen her inheritance. Standard stuff. The kind of case the show handled regularly. Sibling rivalry. Money. Resentment that had festered for decades. Rebecca sat in the guest chair. Mid-30s. Dressed professionally. Composed. She'd brought documentation. Bank statements. Legal papers. A will. Everything neatly organized in a folder she kept on her lap. She was prepared. Articulate. Ready to make her case. Dr. Phil started with the usual questions. Background. Family history. When did the problem start? Rebecca answered everything perfectly. Too perfectly, maybe. But that wasn't unusual. Some guests overprepared. Rehearsed their stories. Wanted to make sure they got their point across. So Rebecca, Dr. Phil said, you're saying your sister Linda forged documents to claim your father's estate? That's exactly what I'm saying. I have proof. And you've tried to resolve this legally? For 3 years. But she keeps finding ways to delay. So I came here. Because I need someone to see the truth. Dr. Phil nodded. Looked at his notes. Something felt off, but he couldn't place it yet. Just an instinct. A tickle at the back of his mind. Before we bring Linda out, I need to verify some basic information. Just standard procedure. Can you confirm your full legal name and social security number? Rebecca rattled it off without hesitation. Dr. Phil wrote it down. Gestured to one of his producers offstage. Standard verification. They did it with every guest. Made sure people were who they said they were. Usually just a formality. The producer left. The interview continued. Rebecca talked about her childhood. Her father. The sister she claimed had betrayed her. She was convincing. Emotional at the right moments. Angry at others. Everything checked out behaviorally. Then the producer came back. Handed Dr. Phil a file. A thin manila folder. Dr. Phil opened it while Rebecca continued talking. He started reading. And his expression changed. He looked up at Rebecca. Back down at the file. Up again. His jaw tightened. He set his note cards down. Carefully. Deliberately. Rebecca, he said quietly, we need to stop for a moment. The studio went quiet. Rebecca stopped mid-sentence. What's wrong? Dr. Phil stood up. Walked to where the producers sat. The audience could see him but couldn't hear what he was saying. But they could read his body language. Tense. Urgent. He came back with 2 additional producers. Spoke directly to the camera operators. Stop everything, he said. Not to Rebecca. To his team. Stop the cameras now. The red recording lights went off. The audience sat in confused silence. Rebecca's face went pale. Dr. Phil, what's happening? Dr. Phil paused mid-sentence. The studio went completely silent. He walked back to his seat. Sat down. But not in his usual relaxed posture. He was leaning forward. Intent. The folder open in front of him. Rebecca, I'm going to ask you some questions. And I need you to answer them honestly. Do you understand? She nodded. Her hands were shaking now. Yes. What is your date of birth? She told him. Same date she'd given earlier. And where were you born? Pittsburgh. I already told you this. I know what you told me. I'm asking you to confirm. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. June 15, 1988. Dr. Phil looked at the file. According to the Social Security Administration, the number you gave me belongs to a Rebecca Morrison. Born June 15, 1988. In Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Yes. That's me. Rebecca Morrison died in 2003. She was 15 years old. Car accident. The studio erupted. Not with noise. With gasps. Sharp intakes of breath. The kind of collective shock that sounds like wind through trees. Rebecca's face went from pale to gray. That's not possible. It's in the file. Death certificate. Everything. So I'm going to ask you again. Who are you? Rebecca's mouth opened. Closed. No sound came out. Dr. Phil waited. 30 seconds. A minute. Just waiting. Finally she spoke. Her voice was different now. Smaller. I don't know. You don't know your real name? I've been Rebecca for so long. I don't remember anything else. Dr. Phil set the file on the table between them. Help me understand. You've been using a dead girl's identity. For how long? Since I was 16. Maybe 17. I'm not sure. And how did you get her information? Rebecca's hands were trembling so badly she had to clasp them together. I was in foster care. Aging out of the system. I didn't have any family. No one to help me. And I met someone who said they could get me documents. A fresh start. They gave me Rebecca's information. Social security card. Birth certificate. Everything. Did you know she was dead? Not at first. Later I figured it out. But by then I'd built a whole life. I had a job. An apartment. Friends. I couldn't go back. Off camera, Dr. Phil made a choice no producer expected. He stood up again. Walked off stage. The audience could hear him talking to someone. Couldn't make out the words. When he came back, he had a different folder. Sat down. Looked at Rebecca. What's your real name? She started crying. Not dramatic sobs. Just tears running down her face. Silent. I don't know. I was called Amy in the foster system. But I don't know if that was my real name either. I was abandoned as a baby. No records. No birth certificate. Nothing. So you've been living as a dead girl for almost 20 years. Yes. And the sister you claimed stole your inheritance? Rebecca laughed bitterly. Wiped her eyes. There is no sister. There is no inheritance. I made it all up. The audience was frozen. Dr. Phil's expression was unreadable. Why did you come here? What did you think was going to happen? I don't know. I think I wanted someone to find out. I've been carrying this for so long. Lying every single day. Every time someone calls me Rebecca, I feel like I'm erasing whoever I really am. Or was. I don't even know anymore. Dr. Phil was quiet for a long moment. Then he opened the second folder he'd brought. This morning, after we got the initial social security verification, I had my team do some digging. Because something about your story didn't add up. We found records of a baby doe case from 1987. Abandoned at a hospital in Philadelphia. The baby was placed in emergency foster care under the name Amy Patricia Davis. No last name confirmed. No parents ever found. Rebecca looked up. That's me? The fingerprints on file matched the ones you gave us for security clearance to be on the show. Amy Patricia Davis. You were 3 days old when someone left you at Temple University Hospital. The nurse who found you named you Amy. The social worker added Patricia after her own mother. Davis was just a placeholder surname. So my name is Amy. Legally, you never had a name. You were never formally adopted. Never had a birth certificate issued. You existed in the system as a ward of the state until you aged out at 16. And then you disappeared. Until today. Rebecca, Amy, whoever she was, put her face in her hands. I don't know who I am. Dr. Phil leaned back. That's the truest thing you've said since you walked in here. Subscribe and leave a comment, because the most powerful part of this story is still ahead. The cameras were still off. The audience was still silent. Dr. Phil made a gesture to his producers. Spoke quietly. Then turned back to Amy. Here's what's going to happen. You've committed identity fraud. That's a federal crime. I can't ignore that. But I also understand why you did it. You were a kid. Alone. Scared. Someone offered you a way to exist in a system that had forgotten you existed. So here's what we're going to do. He pulled out a business card. Different from the usual therapy referrals. This is an attorney who specializes in identity cases. She's helped people in situations like yours navigate the legal system. You're going to call her today. Not tomorrow. Today. You're going to turn yourself in. You're going to face the consequences. But you're also going to finally, legally, become a real person. With a real name. Real documents. A real identity. Amy took the card. They're going to arrest me. Probably. But the alternative is spending the rest of your life as a ghost. As someone who doesn't exist. And you deserve better than that. Rebecca Morrison deserves to rest. And Amy Davis deserves to finally be born. I'm scared. I know. But fear is what got you here. Courage is what's going to get you out. Dr. Phil gestured to the producers again. Turn the cameras back on. The red lights came back up. The audience had no idea what had been said in those off-camera moments. Dr. Phil was back in host mode. Professional. Composed. The woman sitting here today came on the show under false pretenses. She's not Rebecca Morrison. She's not fighting with a sister over an inheritance. She's someone who's been lost in the system for over 3 decades. And today, for the first time, she's taking steps to find out who she really is. The audience didn't know whether to applaud. It wasn't a victory. It wasn't a defeat. It was just truth. Complicated, messy, painful truth. But what happened next is something no one in the room, or watching at home, saw coming. From the back of the studio, a woman stood up. Late 50s. Professional attire. She was crying. Dr. Phil, may I approach? Security moved to intercept, but Dr. Phil waved them off. Who are you? The woman walked down the aisle. Stopped a few feet from the stage. Looked at Amy. My name is Margaret Reeves. I was the social worker assigned to the Baby Doe case at Temple University Hospital in 1987. I named you Patricia. After my mother. I've thought about you every single day for 36 years. Wondered what happened to you. If you were okay. If you were even alive. Amy stood up slowly. You gave me my name? Part of it. I'm sorry it wasn't more. I tried to find you a family. Tried everything. But the system failed you. I failed you. You didn't fail me. You gave me a name. You saw me. Even if it was just for a moment. Margaret was fully crying now. I'm so sorry. Amy walked to the edge of the stage. Extended her hand. Margaret took it. And then they were hugging. 2 strangers connected by a moment 36 years ago. The audience was crying. The crew was crying. Even Dr. Phil had to look away for a second to compose himself. When they separated, Dr. Phil spoke. Margaret, would you be willing to help Amy through this process? To be there as she navigates the legal system and establishes her identity? I would be honored. Then we'll make sure you're connected with the attorney I mentioned. This isn't going to be easy. Amy's going to face legal consequences. But she's not going to face them alone. Amy sat back down. Margaret stayed standing nearby. Dr. Phil picked up the folder. Rebecca Morrison's file. This young woman died 21 years ago. She was 15. She had a family. A life. And then she was gone. You took her name. Her identity. You erased her memory to save yourself. And I understand why. But it's time for Rebecca to rest. And for Amy to live. What if I don't know how to be Amy? Then you learn. Because being Rebecca was a lie. Being Amy might be hard. But at least it's real. Dr. Phil stood. Extended his hand. Amy took it. You came here to be found. Mission accomplished. Share and subscribe. Make sure this story is never forgotten. Amy called the attorney that afternoon. turned herself in 3 days later. The federal prosecutor, hearing the full story, offered a plea deal, probation, restitution to the Morrison family, and mandatory counseling. No jail time. A second chance. Margaret attended every court hearing, held Amy's hand through the legal process. And when the judge finally issued Amy Patricia Davis her first official birth certificate at age 36, Margaret was there. Witness to a birth that had taken 36 years to complete. Dr. Phil kept the Social Security file. Not as a trophy. As a reminder that sometimes people don't come to his show for advice. They come to be seen. To be real. To stop being ghosts. Amy lives under her real name now. Works as an advocate for foster children aging out of the system. Tells her story so others don't have to steal dead children's identities to exist. Rebecca Morrison's family was contacted. Told what happened. They chose not to press additional charges. Said they were just glad someone finally let their daughter rest. And somewhere in Philadelphia, there's a hospital record that finally has closure. Baby Doe 1987. Found. Named. Home.